It's okay.
That's
It's
good.
okay.
Good cross.
Thank you. That's okay.
That's
It's
good.
okay.
Good cross.
Thank you.
We want like the same shit. So literally,
Thank you.